Ooh-wee. Well, how about that? First, right off the bat, let's give this. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. That means the world. Helps to keep things going here on the portal, because this is largely an act of love and determination. So it makes a big difference. So thank you so much for your kindness and your donation. Very cool. All right. We got a lot to get to tonight, as always, but I'm always thrilled to have you guys with me. I forgot to turn on the ghost radar. I was looking. I knew I forgot something. What is it? What's the date today? It is the 17th. Happy November 17th. November 17, 2023. And the ghost radar is now working. So we'll see if we're alone here, folks. I'm just saying, you never know. Not that not that it's a complete indicator in and of itself, but something, you can see if something's up. It's some energetic anomaly using the magnetometer. It may detect anomalies. And by God, when we did the last show on Wednesday, when I set up the REM pod along with the yes/no indicator, got some great triggers, both and consistently with the ghost radar. Like a couple times, or at least one time, I know they all three went off, but several times two of them were indicated. So that's definitely a reinforcing factors, which is really cool. So, welcome everybody. It's Friday. You made it. Happy Friday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. And thanks so much for spending part of it right here with me, talking about the paranormal and the weirdness that we so love and enjoy talking about. Sheldon will be along shortly. He's not quite here yet. I don't know what his timetable is like tonight. I know he's usually working, so he'll be with us as soon as he can be. And I know we got some news to get to. Great to see. I saw there was a new face in here. Who is the new Daryl Zierlin? Good to see you, Daryl. Thank you so much. I thought there was a Stone Hobbit. Unless that's a reworking of Purple Hobbit or whatever. I don't know. I'm just, I see these new names, and it's cool to see new names. But if you're already people we know, then very cool. Glad you're back. Maybe Daryl, you've been here. I'm sorry. That does seem vaguely familiar, but I have a dyslexia for names, just so you know. So a lot of times names look new to me. But in any case, O'Shaughnessy Von Baron just came in. How you doing, O'Shaughnessy? Thanks for coming in. That's a brand new name. I'm pretty sure I've never seen that one before. I think that's a safe bet. It's good to see Brian Gaska back again. Good. Hope things are going good, brother. John Temprin, good to have you back. John couldn't be here. Can't always be here for every show, but it's nice to see when you guys are able to get here. I'm not new. Just don't say much. Well, you don't need to talk to be counted, but thank you so much. And hello, Maggie and Rachel, our two mods, portal moms out there. Wizard Moon, Grumpy Owl. Let's see, Aggravated Progressive. Who else is here? Lucky Gypsy, of course. Yeah, gave the donation. Jesse Garcia. How you doing, Jesse? Good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. And Lucky Gypsy, Grumpy Owl. Look at it. I'm just looking at the names here quick. I'm not pulling up the participants list, but I think that's largely everyone. I saw Ron. Ron was in here as well. I've tried to say hello in the chat as well during the intro to the show, but great to have you all here. Thank you so much for being part of my world, and hopefully I'll do just fine keeping you entertained and making it worth your while. So just little current events. I am working, and I tested it earlier tonight on doing multi-streaming. And so multi-streaming basically means that I send out one stream and it gets mirrored to other platforms, and the platform that I'm testing out is Twitch. And so I did a test stream tonight, and I didn't let the YouTube go public. I don't know how to make Twitch private. So every one of these test streams I'm doing, as far as I know, is going to be public. So if you're on Twitch, watch for it over there. It'll probably be just simulcast with YouTube, but it'll just be an opportunity to introduce ourselves to a new audience. I'm not sure. Generally speaking, Twitch audiences are younger, I think, generally speaking, but that's scale is grown quite a bit. So I figure, well, we'll give it a shot. It can't hurt. It doesn't take anything more for me. I'm still doing the show, but if the show ends up more platforms, maybe we'll meet some new people and get to know another segment of our online world. So that'd be cool. And that's what I did tonight. It didn't work out great because there's some functions that should have been working that weren't. But the YouTube stream did work. I wasn't sure because I never saw any chats come in. But then again, there was no chats to come in because I made it private. So that wasn't very smart now that I think about it. I don't know. It's just I like to test new platforms, and I like to expand the umbrella, if you will, of what we do here. So RJ Windwalker came in. D Ocean, good to see you guys. Aggravated Progressive, John Stevenson came in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. I'm just watching as names pop up. We're going to be doing the news, of course, because, well, it's news. We all need some news. And maybe it's not the usual news that you're used to seeing, and not necessarily the same news from the show, but generally speaking, you turn on the news, the official news, and it's just a bunch of bad moods. I just get crabby every time. It's just, I mean, if you think about it, it's good to be informed, but generally speaking, they focus on all the crap. And so you watch the news and you just feel like crap. And so that's why I like to have fun with what we do here, because it's still news. Hey, Blue Line Bigfoot. I think that's Mr. Jake. Good to see you, brother. Blue Line Bigfoot's longtime friends of the show, and they have their own channel, which is Blue Line Bigfoot. You can check it out. They're a lot of fun. He and Jake and Adam are incredibly creative and do a lot of fun stuff over there. They're just, I mean, some of the stuff is so freaking creative, and it's almost like sitcoms. They're just so good at it, and they're a lot of fun to watch. So, let's see. Anything else? Anyone else? Glades Creature is back. How you doing, Glades Creature? Welcome back. Good to see you here again. So, I guess without further ado, we'll jump into the news, and when Sheldon comes, he'll be here, and we'll deal with him when it's time. No, I'm just kidding. It's hi, Barbara. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. If you're a member of the show, and I gave away 5 memberships last Wednesday, but if you're a member of the show tonight, you will have an opportunity to be in the running for a t-shirt giveaway that we're going to be doing later in the show. We love 6A. We love 6A. 6A. Did you call me sexy? Was that code for sexy? Is 6A some Jakeism for sexy? I like how you work, brother. Just keep it up. You got to understand, reading Jake's chat takes a while. You definitely have to look at it about 3 different directions, and then it starts slowly making sense. And he's an incredibly intelligent guy, but he's so damn creative. Damn creative people. All right. So let's get into the news and find out just what I've newsed up for you guys. God, my neck is hanging low. Look like I'm in a V-neck and it's a t-shirt. It's an old t-shirt though. Had this one for years, but it fits just like a glove. It just fits. All right. Let's get to the news, find out what's going on in the world at large, at least in terms of the paranormal and weird. So let's check it out. Want to hear it? Here you go. The only news you trust, the most trusted news, is the opinion of Mr. Wes Germer, who made that transition as you just watched. Wes is an incredibly creative guy too. It's it's like, man, there's so many creative people in this space, and wonderful people as well. So, all right, right on. Ruthie's here. Good to see you, Ruthie. All right, let's get to the news.
This is not a valid menu option.
I have no idea where that's coming from. I mean, none. I have no concept of where that's coming from. It happens every once in a while. Maybe this show is not a valid menu option, but it's still available. I don't know what that means. I have no idea where that voice comes from. It just sporadically comes up every blue moon. So don't know what it means. Don't know where it's coming from. Is it weird and paranormal? I don't know if it's paranormal, but it's weird. I can't explain it, but it happens. There's a lot of ghosts in the machines, you know. We have snacks. We do. We have snacks. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to it, and we'll find out just what's in the news tonight. Because I did pull up quite a few, didn't I? I got 4. I don't think we're gonna read 4. I'll save some for tomorrow. Let's read this one. This one's kind of a cryptid creature. It's from the world of the bizarre over on the site that I love to use for a lot of the news stories because it's just so darn well done. And this is unexplained-mysteries.com. Please support what they're doing. They're just second to none. Seriously, they do such a wonderful job. So support them and show them some love. And the first story tonight is from them. It's bizarre creature with long flailing arms spotted on Google Street View. What the hell is... I didn't even look at this. I just saw the headline. I was like, let's read that. All right. Well, what's going on down here? What you got? Pushing some luggage, it looks like. I don't know. That's very, very strange. The Google Street View cams, I think they're kind of longer exposure. So, I mean, maybe this person knew just how to move to really screw this up. But my God, it looks like the walk-in spaghetti man. This outrageous-looking figure with strange elongated arms was recently spotted on the side of the road in Utah. Of course it was Utah. Of course. Utah and Ohio are the 2 weird states for sure. And there's a lot of weirdness going on everywhere, but those 2 states just seem to have a lot. What the hell? Given that Google has attempted to photograph both sides of every road across most of the developed world with its Street View service, it's not surprising. None? You saying it's none? That's something. Are you saying it's not anomalous? It's just somebody being cute? Probably. I wouldn't disagree with that. It's not surprising that the search giant's camera-equipped cars have picked up some peculiar things over the years. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. I don't know what the hell's going on there at all. This latest example, however, just about takes the cake as perhaps the most bizarre thing ever. Photographed next to a road near Bears Ears Visitor Center in the town of Buff. It's definitely Buff. That figure is definitely into Buff. In Utah, this outrageous-looking figure appears to have enormous disproportional arms that are flailing around in the air behind it as it walks along, like a deranged real-life version of Mr. Tickle from the Mr. Men. I have no idea what the hell that means. Must be a BBC thing or something. Images of the scene quickly went viral, leaving a lot of users completely stumped. What is this? Some sort of prank? Could the image have been stretched and distorted somehow? Well, the answer, it turns out, is strikingly simple. According to reports, this is in fact a unique type of scarecrow that is designed to be particularly effective at keeping birds away from the local fields. Huh? So it's like a sculpture, is it? Is that what we're looking at? A sculpture? Well, I guess that makes more sense. It says, judging by the image, it wouldn't be surprising if this bizarre-looking mannequin was quite effective at keeping unwanted human visitors away from the fields as well. Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, it looks pretty skin tone. But yeah, I mean, if it's a sculpture, it definitely makes more sense. I don't know why birds are so tripped out by it, but. Okay, well, that's story number one. I just have nothing left to say about it. It's just bizarre. That's a hell of a scarecrow. Anyway, I don't know what field they're protecting here exactly. It's like, what do they got? Scrubland with scrub on it. Well, maybe it's the bird bath here, or the maybe this is a fountain. I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. It's some kind of scarecrow. This is brand new to me too. I'm almost speechless. That's just very strange. And who the hell figured out that design? Like that was the one that keeps birds away. What other ones did they test in this? That's very, very weird. All right, that's the first story though, and it is what it is. Let's get to the next one, and this one is. I heard like a bang. This one. No, I don't want the ad. This one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it comes from November 17th, so very, very recent. And this story is kind of a revisit. Every once in a while on unexplained-mysteries.com, they do recap of some of the most famous UFO cases out there, and this is no exception. With the extraterrestrial topic, Mysteries Revisited, the Barney and Betty Hill alien abduction case. And this, if you're not really familiar with this really was the abduction case that really put alien abduction on the map. Betty and Barney Hill were a really neat couple by the sounds of it, and quite actually incredibly progressive. They were, this is back in the 60s, I think. Yeah, 1961. And they were, a multiracial couple. And back then that was a hard thing to do, but they did it, and good for them, But they actually experienced an abduction as they were returning home from a visit. I think they were driving 3 hours total or something. And suddenly they saw a light in the sky, and they were both like, "What's that?" Looked like it was coming closer, so they kind of stopped. And next thing they know, they had missing time. Betty was wearing like a pink dress, like a tweed dress that had a weird stain on it that they can't account for, of a material they can't account for. So they went and eventually did regressive hypnosis and found out that they were abducted. And interestingly enough, Betty was able to draw a star chart as explained by the aliens that was where they were from. And at that time, the star cluster was not known, but it's since come to our understanding that those stars are the Zeta Reticuli cluster. And as far as I knew back then, we had no real idea of the Zeta Reticuli cluster. And so she was, which I think really lends a lot of credibility to the story. But anyway, that's the story. And of course, making a claim like that has got to make your life a living hell, because especially back then, but they stuck by their guns, and it still remains one of the most, pivotal abduction cases in our history, because it really brought the conversation to light more than any other before it. So what exactly happened to Benny and Barney? Why do I say Benny? I always say Benny and Barty. Barney and Betty Hill on September 19th, 1961 still remains a topic of heated debate. The idea of taking aboard an alien spacecraft and examined by the nameless entities for reasons unknown is an undoubtedly terrifying one. Yet there have been there are a surprising number of people who, at some point in their lives, claim to have undergone such an experience. There is one abduction case in particular, however, that has more than any other served to define the field of abduction research, a story that is still hotly debated even today, over 62 years on. Betty and Barney Hill, who lived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Portsmouth, I don't know, New Hampshire, had been driving home from a vacation in Niagara Falls on September 19th, 1961, when the incident happened. At around 10:30 that evening, Betty spotted a strange bright light in the sky as they drove along, and it seemed to change size and move erratically, prompting them to stop at the roadside to take a look at it through the binoculars. Barney initially believed it to be an airliner until it suddenly changed direction, leading him to conclude that it was definitely not a plane. Unnerved, the couple got back in their car and resumed their journey. Things would soon take a sinister turn, however, when the object moved disconcertingly close to their car and seemed to be following them as they drove along a stretch of isolated rural road. Eventually, the UFO turned and descended towards them, forcing Barney to hit the brakes to avoid a collision. When he got out of the car with his binoculars for the second time, he was certain that he could see a number of humanoid figures looking back at him from inside of it. He later claimed that they had been wearing black uniforms and caps. Terrified, the couple got back in their car and attempted to flee. However, the object had moved directly above their vehicle, producing a peculiar series of beeping and buzzing noises, and they then experienced a period of missing time, after which they became aware that they had traveled some 35 miles along the road without recalling their journey. After finally arriving home, the couple found physical signs that something had happened to them, including strange marks on their car and damage to their clothes. Later, under hypnosis, the couple recalled having been taken aboard the alien spacecraft and subjected to a medical examination. Their story would ultimately capture the attention of not only the media, but also respected scientists and psychologists. It's a tale as terrifying as it is intriguing. Could the Hills have really been abducted by extraterrestrial beings from another world, or was there an alternative explanation? The truth is, we still don't know for sure. So it still goes on, and there is a link here. I'm going to put this article link into our chat because there's a video that accompanies this, and if you're not familiar with it, I would suggest get familiar with it, because this is one of those stories that has really persevered, and there are detractors, as there are with everything, but I believe they saw what they say they saw and experienced what they thought they experienced. I think it's incredibly powerful stuff. So there you go. That's article number 2 on the news. And yeah, good article. Good job. All right, I think we're going to read this one because this one's kind of interesting. I think, I don't know, I think probably mostly everybody has had the dreams where you suddenly become really aware and you can even participate in them to an unprecedented level, like creating experiences, like even flying. I've done it myself. It's just incredible. I love those dreams, and they're always the most disappointing to wake up from. Like, no, I could fly. But they're incredible experiences. And this seems to be some kind of progress in the world of dreaming from science and technology. Let me look at it. How long is it? It's perfectly suited for this because it's very short. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Scientists are building a device that can induce lucid dreams on demand. I think that's curious. The only curious thing as well is that good? I mean, are you really getting restful sleep during lucid dreaming? So if somebody said, I'm just going to be awake during my whole dreams, I'm going to just have a fun time. Just turn on the machine and go lay down, and all night you're playing in, this playground of possibility. But we have cycles of sleep for a reason. And so I would guess that doing that all the time could be maybe detrimental. That's, there's a lot about sleep in our minds that we don't know. what's exactly going on and what are the ramifications of screwing with those schedules. I mean, we know sleep deprivation, can really work numbers on people and create absolute lunatics if you don't let people sleep, and then they will probably go insane. So if you induce lucid dreaming on demand, is that also screwing with the natural cycles that we need? But anyway, that's my take right out of the gate. I don't pretend to know much, but those are curious things. When you start screwing with the natural order of things, usually it doesn't work out incredibly well. A new technology startup hopes to offer the wearable consumer device that can enable anyone to have lucid dreams. If you've ever become aware during a dream and found that you could control what was happening, then you've had what is known as a lucid dream. Some people are able to have lucid dreams quite often, while for others it might only happen once in a lifetime. For those who do experience them, often report a number of psychological benefits, ranging from an improved mood to a reduction in symptoms of anxiety and PTSD. This is why Eric Wahlberg and Wesley Lewis Berry III decided to found Prophetic, a new company which aims to produce a wearable device known as a halo that uses ultrasound and machine learning models to detect when dreamers are in REM to induce and stabilize lucid dreams. It's an extraordinary thing to become aware in your own mind and in your own dreams. It's a surreal and spiritual-esque experience, Wahlberg told Motherboard in a recent interview. Recreationally, it's like the ultimate VR experience. You can fly, you can make a building rise out of the ground, you can talk to dream characters, and you can explore. Whether or not the team can actually build a working device remains to be seen. As things stand, the first commercially available version of Halo is slated for a tentative release in 2025. The list of benefits of lucid dreaming is long, said Barry. There's everything from helping with PTSD, reducing anxiety, improving mood and confidence, motor skills, and creativity. The benefits are really outstanding. I could see where that could be. That could be incredibly helpful if you have people with like social anxiety and stuff, and can make them aware during a dream where it's absolutely safe for them to come out of their shell and do things maybe they wouldn't already do, or even people with living with disabilities and stuff that can no longer run or any number of things. They can't skateboard, they can't do different things that younger people certainly can or whatever. So it might enable them to have those releases on an emotional and energetic level, whereas otherwise it's just their imagination. But it also might give people kind of a tip into how to create a better waking life, because if you realize that you can create your dreaming life, and then you think about the concept that we create our waking life as well, then maybe that would lead people to being able to manifest better versions of themselves and better situations for themselves. So could be very empowering. I think that sounds pretty exciting. So that's coming up, folks, just a couple years, and you too could trigger some lucid dreams. If you've not experienced it, it really is an incredible experience. It's really something. You can have superpowers, you can go someplace, you can do whatever you want. It's just absolutely powerful. But again, is there other problems that could introduce? And maybe there is. Oops, rolled over an ad. Derp. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for the news. I don't know about you guys, but I thought those were some damn good articles right there. Those are some damn good articles. But you be the judge. Again, I think they were. All right, let's get back to the rest of the show and dive into what's left. Whatever that is. I don't even know. most trusted news. Indeed. Hope you guys like that. Did you have a good time? Did you learn something, maybe? What would you, if you could lucid dream, would you? On command? I think it'd be hard not to. Because it really would be like VR. I mean, when you think about VR has come a long way, but it's still not as real as the realness of our dreams. And maybe that'll be some future of VR, is to make it indistinguishable from your dreaming state. Maybe that's it. Always know I wouldn't. Karen Alberding's answering something. Dreaming is involved with many things. Absolutely, Glades creation, and that's the weird part. So I think that oftentimes we dismiss dreamings as the musings of our unconscious mind, maybe processing stuff. But I think there's so much more profound stuff going on during our dream state. And as a matter of fact, I've often thought that maybe dreams are demonstrating to us that we truly are multidimensional beings, that we just forgot about it somehow. Case in point, there's been several times, and I was able to remain conscious enough to realize there was a change happening. But I remember many times, and even currently, falling asleep and being mid-conversation with someone. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know when the transition was, where the transition was. But it's almost like, you're doing a show, and then you just click over on YouTube to a different channel and just kind of start watching it and participating in that. That's almost like what it's like. But there's this real bizarre transition where you're suddenly in a situation ongoing. You will have you will have people there with you that in the dream. These people in your dream state. But if you're conscious enough, you go, who the hell is that? What do you mean? What am I talking to this person for? Like there's this whole other reality that you're suddenly tuned into. And so is that an example of our multidimensional mind and reality? That we are actually existing, versions of ourself are existing from our core into their experiences. And I don't know. I mean, it's a wild concept, really, but what if that's kind of a glimpse into the multiverse and showing that we exist in many ways, not just within these meat suits that we perceive and participate in. So I think that's a pretty wild thought. Yeah. I'm rarely lucid. Well, it's okay. As long as you're lucid tonight, Paul, that's okay. That's, there's no contest. You can, I don't pretend. The thing is for me, I don't usually remember any of my dreams. Very, very rarely I wake up with some kind of recollection of a dream, and sometimes they're very profound, but very exceptionally rarely. Most of the time, I just drift off, and the next thing you know, I'm waking up like, oh, got to use the bathroom. Oh, my mouth tastes like hell, and go get a drink or something. But yeah, I mean, for me, I usually don't remember dreams. And I know they're happening. I don't pretend like I'm not dreaming. I'm dreaming because of, awareness of me sliding into dreams and having these discussions. But yeah, I don't know. It's curious. I think we have a lot to learn about everything. I don't think we're getting to the top of this knowledge pile anytime soon. That we have so much to learn. We're just infants, really. There's so much to learn. And, slowly we're getting there. But I think the more you learn in anything, the more you realize you don't know. Learning more makes you able to ask better questions is probably maybe the best way to define that. So, all right, that was the news. We're going to get to an article. I didn't know if Sheldon was going to be here quite yet or not. Again, I have no idea when he's getting in here. He's not here yet, so okay. But we'll keep waiting for him. He'll be along shortly, I'm sure. All right, we'll get to an article that we've been working through for a couple shows now, and it's been a good article. I like this article a lot. It causes me to think. Again, these are quick Reddit scrape articles. So basically, they are posing questions to a Reddit group or threads that are out there, and then these authors kind of farm them and create content out of them, create articles. This article is from thoughtcatalog.com, and is another great site because, you know, no matter what you're interested in, you can find things on Thought Catalog that'll go over that. So just very interesting. Cool. I don't know why I'm getting this. Oh, very cool. There we go. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Let me do that. Actually, I can do this. I just got a message from Mr. Germer himself. Actually, let me go over there and see if I can find that. Let me see if I can find that right now. Sounds like it'd be interesting. Is it on there? Was that just posted? Or when is it? I'm looking through the blog. Let me refresh this. This is maybe needs some refreshing. Because Mr. West just sent me something. It's an upcoming show he's got coming up. There it comes. Yep, here it is. And so, as a sneak peek from Sasquatch Chronicles, let's check this out. All right, it's from November 16th. Yep, there it is. I got it. Okay, this is a sneak peek of an upcoming show from Sasquatch Chronicles. It's a video, actually. Very cool. Let me blow this up. Let me blow it up to full screenage, and we'll check it out. Oops, I don't want to do that yet. Let me go back. All right. I meant to pause it. Sorry. Oops, there. Okay. All right, I'm getting it all queued up. Okay, folks, an upcoming show from Sasquatch Chronicles. Are you ready? 'Cause here it go.
So when I got down, I was easing my way down on that finger ridge, and I'd work my way down I was roughly probably about 60, maybe 70 yards from the top of the ridge. And I kept hearing something to the right, but it's like 100 to 150 yards away on that ridge to the right that went out there and turned. And I had my grunt call, and I hit my grunt. Man, I hit them antlers and stuff beating on them. And I heard it again. And I thought, what in the world? Boy, that's a big old deer over there. And I hit my grunt call again, Wes. And when I went to hit them antlers again, the god-awfulest thing run off this mountain. I'm not lying to you. It sounded like an elephant running through the woods. This thing's come down through her, and the foliage is so thick that I can't really see nothing, but you can see the stuff moving. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, my God, I'm about to kill the world's biggest buck. 22-year-old kid. This thing comes down through there, tearing up hell, comes down and comes up about a third of the way on the other side. And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, this thing's getting ready to step out. I would say maybe a couple minutes went by, and then it's hard to talk about. And then at my 10 o'clock position at 30 yards away, there was a beech tree about 36 to 40 inches in diameter. And I turned around, this thing come out from behind that tree. And people don't understand till you're staring something like this in the face, but this thing is black. It's huge, and it comes out from behind that tree, and in my mind, I'm trying to process, and we've locked eyes. And I have never, ever, ever in my life been so scared of, because when this thing come out from behind, it didn't peek around. It come all the way around, but it kept its right hand on that tree. This thing was massive. Hell, its shoulders, they were 4 foot wide. Didn't have a conical head. This thing looked like somebody cut its neck off and shoved its head in its shoulder blades. And this thing is standing there, and we're locked eyes. I ain't moving. I'm shaking like a leaf, but I'm camoed up, and this thing's down below me. And this is what I always try to figure out. When this thing come out behind, it was looking straight at me, but my face was painted. I had a mask and everything on, gloves. I mean, I'm camoed out. But this thing, when it come out, it had the strangest look on its face. It was so confused. You know, you can read a person's face when they're just so confused they don't know what's going on. Well, that's what this thing was doing. But I'm only 30 yards away from it. And this thing is looking at me, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a devil. I don't know what the hell this is.
Wow. Just the emotion in that guy's voice. Like, you know, he saw something that just rewrote his entire story. Oof. That's powerful. When is that coming out? I don't know. Is it here? Jimmy shares an encounter while he was hunting. Jimmy said, I don't know what it is. It looked like a giant man, and it had a confused look on its face when it saw me. Creature's demeanor changed, and it looked pissed. It took off running, and it chased me. So this is only a small grain of what this story is going to be, but oof. That's how you know you're talking to an experiencer, is when this man kept choking on his own emotion as he's trying to get this out. And man, you can only feel such empathy. Wow, that is crazy. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's really cool. Oof. That's going to be good. Let me know when that's going to release, Wes, and I'll let everybody know. It may be this coming Sunday show, but I don't know for sure, folks. But yeah, generally when Wes posts these, the actual show is going to post really soon. So I'm sure it'll be coming right up. But man, that is so powerful. Oof. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, obviously the guy's okay. He made it out of the situation, but it's like he left a part of himself there. You know, he left a chunk of himself on that hill, and he's got to live with that memory for the rest of his life. And that's the moment that these encounters just change. They change the dynamic of people's lives completely. Because this kid sounds like he's a hunter. I mean, he's out there hunting, probably comes from a family of hunters. And maybe that took it away from him. And I think about Kerry Arnold, you know, his situation. He was a ravenous hunter. He lived in the woods. He was out hunting turkey that day, you know, Kerry Arnold again, of Bigfoot Odyssey. And he had an encounter where the thing came up and yelled at him. It was like it was yelling at him. And the fear, you know, and just Kerry's voice when he's talked about that experience, God bless him and God rest his soul, but it changed him. It took it away. It took hunting away from that man for many years, many, many years. I think the coolest thing is when these people can come to terms with that and can go on to, you know, live their lives and even conquer that and get back out to the forest. Yep. Yeah. God bless him. Right, Barbara. So very cool. Thanks, Wes. I appreciate that heads up. Absolutely. That's amazing. That is absolutely, and horrifying. Again, this is something this guy didn't ask for, but it came and found him. So, all right, we're going to get to this article from Thought Catalog. And this article is 9 chilling true family stories that confirmed my belief in ghosts. I don't know, it was just 9. It feels like we've gone through about 12 of them. Anyway, last one was the Alexa one we read on Wednesday. Here's one, Ghosts Walking Among Us. Let me get it up on screen here. I think this will work. There we go. Ghosts Walking Among Us. My family and I were wandering aimlessly around Boston's North End one night when we all decided we were hungry. Well, we picked a random restaurant, one with the shortest wait, and we just sat down for dinner. My niece started acting really strange at dinner, almost as if she shut down entirely. She turned away from us with her head down and didn't say more than 2 words the whole time. She sat through dinner like that, not answering when we'd ask her what was wrong. We later found out that the entire time we were at dinner, she was seeing many people walking around the restaurant dressed in old-fashioned clothing, and she couldn't understand what they were doing there. She explained they didn't look like they were from this time period, but they scared her. The restaurant wasn't very busy, and there were certainly no people walking around with that type of clothing on. When we researched the restaurant, there it was, one of the oldest restaurants in the North End, with a rich history of guests. I wonder if it were those very guests that she was seeing. Yeah, that's scary. This is Boston. Yeah, the Boston's been around forever, so wow. That's incredible. Yeah, again, kids always pick this stuff up early. They see it, and I'm both envious and maybe thankful. Like I'm envious that I can't see it if I wanted to, but there's probably plenty of times where I just wouldn't even want to see it. You know, like you just want to turn it off. You hear about ghosts appearing in their death state, like, you know, they might have a jaw hanging like they were, you know, in a fire, or they're all burned up or missing eyes, or, you know, whatever. Generally speaking, they don't put on their best look. And you know, that's not a criticism, but some things you just wouldn't want to see. The next one is a friendly visitor, and this is again, this article is from Thought Catalog, so just keep that in mind. I definitely want to keep promoting the site because these are great stories, and there's a million questions they don't answer, but they are, you know, little snapshots of people's experiences. A friendly visitor is next. It says, my uncle passed away when I was just a baby. I have no memories of him. Well, years ago, my sister and I were both asleep in our beds. In the middle of the night, our mother woke us up. Were you just in my room? She asked in a panicked voice. Well, I opened my eyes to find her looking back at me. She was frantic. What? I asked as I was half asleep. Were you just in my room? She repeated. No, I said as I rubbed my eyes, thinking she probably had just had a nightmare. She went into my sister's room asking the same question and received the same response. I slowly drifted back to sleep. The next morning, my mom was a mess. She was cooking us breakfast with this look on her face that I'll never forget. Pale, drained, and full of fear. She asked us again, You promise me neither of you were in my room last night, even just for a second. No, Mom, we're not in your room. We were both sleeping when you woke us up. Promise. She paused, took a deep breath, then looked up at us and said, Well, someone was standing in my doorway last night, and I think it was your uncle. I think my brother came to visit me. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Although it obviously terrified her quite a bit. Let me just send Sheldon a message here. Let's see. You coming? I don't know. Usually he's done by now. Unless he might have forgotten it's Friday night. Who knows? He might just be working late. It's hard to say. But I didn't actually text him, so he always just says, yeah, of course. You didn't have to text me. So then I don't text him and it's not here. He'll be like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, well, that's why I text. But we'll see. We'll see what he says. Had to restart computer. Just setting everything up. Okay, he'll be along in just moments, folks. He'll be coming. Next is the pianist. Again, I said pianist. I don't want any mistaken words being associated with that. The security guard at my work always tells me stories from working in old buildings across campus, but this one stuck with me the most. One night he was working late and there was no one in the building he was working in. He went to take a break when he heard a noise coming from the lounge downstairs. Well, he realized it was someone playing the piano. Shaking his head in frustration, he went to go yell at the person and tell them that they obviously weren't allowed down there at this hour, let alone allowed to play the piano right now. When he turned the corner to scold them, there was no one there. No one around and no one sitting at the piano. He looked around for a few minutes, but only discovered that he was completely alone. I think that's kind of beautiful. I suppose if you're a security guard, you got to check. But it would just be neat to just kind of go, yeah, just let them play. Let's listen. I mean, it's a private concert, right? The neighbor's haunted house comes next. My fiance's mom told me this story about their neighbor once, and I always talk about it when the topic of ghosts come up. The family in this home, dad, mom, daughter, and son, have all experienced a lot of supernatural occurrences during their time living here. One evening after dinner, the teenage son was going upstairs to his room. When he turned the lights on in the hallway, the light bulb suddenly blew out, and when he looked at the top of the stairs, he saw the ghost of a woman in a long robe with her arms crossed, staring down at him. Oh. On another occasion, the dad got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. Everyone else in the house was asleep, but he heard voices coming from downstairs. When he went back down to look, he realized the voices were actually coming from the basement. He couldn't believe it at first, but it sounded like a lively party was taking place, though he couldn't understand the words being spoken. He could hear crowds of people talking at once. As he approached the basement, it was clear no one was there, but he could still hear the noises of the party happening. He cleared his throat, and suddenly all the noises stopped. The room went silent. One night, the daughter came home from babysitting. Her mother had mentioned earlier in the day that their dad would be out of town until tomorrow because he was away on business. Upon arriving at home, the daughter saw a man standing in the front of her parents' bedroom window upstairs. Well, she asked her mom what her dad was doing home a day early, and her mom, confused, asked what she was talking about. And she explained to her mom that she saw dad upstairs in the window when she got home. Her mom, frightened by this, told her daughter that her dad is still on a business trip and definitely not upstairs. They went upstairs to see if anyone was up there, but all they found were the curtains were drawn wide open, and the mother, knowing for a fact she shut them earlier in the night. Also, the mom and daughter were the only two in the house. No one was upstairs. Oops. That's not good.
Nope.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Mr. Sheldon Thomas, ladies and gentlemen.
I am here.
You're here.
Yes. Please applause me.
What's that?
Yes. Yes, please applause me.
We did. I applauded you. I applauded your entrance. Because it's always good when you're here, of course. How'd your day go?
Oh, good. Tiring, but I'm excited. It's Friday and another show of the Paranormal Portal. Can't get any better.
Well, we're not going to try to invent ways to make it better because, by God, this is pretty darn good. Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the next one, the call from above. I've heard an abundance of ghost stories about my fiance's parents' house, the house he grew up in. I, too, have felt a certain presence on nights that I've stayed there. My fiance's grandma lived in that house with them for 9 years before she passed away. She used to claim to always see a blonde little boy running around the house, a little boy that did not belong there. His sister would occasionally see the boy as well. His family heard voices, footsteps, seen shadows, and encountered cold spots within the house. And a few years ago, his brother was walking towards the living room and saw an old man with a long gray beard and long hair, dressed in gray, sitting on the couch in their living room. He stared at the man until finally looking away for a second, and the man was gone when he looked back. One day, his mom heard a little boy behind her calling out, "Mommy!" Assuming it was one of her sons, she said, "What?" But the voice kept repeating, "Mommy, Mommy," until she finally turned around and yelled, "What?" But no one was there. She ran into the boy's room to check if maybe it was one of them, but they were there. There they were, both sitting comfortably in the middle of intensely playing with their toys. She thinks it may have been the blonde little boy who was calling her. My fiance's aunt was visiting from Florida, and she was in the house alone one day. The phone rang, and she answered to find a person, not a robot, on the other line asking, "May I please speak to Muriel?" Muriel was her mother, my fiance's grandmother, and she was taken back by this question because she hasn't heard anyone looking for her mom in quite some time. Confused, she replied, I'm sorry. Muriel passed away many years ago. The person said, I'm sorry to hear that, and abruptly hung up. A little unnerved, she went on the caller ID and wrote the number down. She Googled it, but found nothing, and she called it back, and the number was no longer in service. It was no longer in service. And it was coming from in the house. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, I was muted. That's why. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Push to talk. Push to talk. I think I'm going to get you a push to talk mic. That way you'll always get it.
That would be nice.
It would be. Yeah, that's a good story. I'm fascinated by ghost phone calls. And I can honestly say I've gotten one in my life that I know of. I've had weird phone calls, even here on the show. One time we had a weird show. One time Deb was doing readings on the show. And this was a few years back, several, I guess. But somebody called in, and it started with a woman's voice. And then suddenly her voice got really weird. And I said the woman's name. Let's say her name was Caroline. She goes, Caroline's no longer here. And it started like cackling. It was like, woo, woo.
Oh, okay.
Deb and I were both like, oh, God. Yeah, yeah. And I don't remember the woman's name or the situation, but I was like, oof. That woman was dealing with some luggage. But she called in for a reading, and it started out okay, and then it went way south. And then it was like, I did the only thing I could think of, which was disconnect the call.
Oh my God.
Well, she ain't here. She's one that want to read. Goodbye. Yeah.
Sure.
No, I don't know. So it looks like Nikki Zarella was the one that pulled these stories together. So nice job. Those are some great stories. I'm only sad that we've gone through them all now in several shows. But
Thank you for your service, Nikki.
yeah, thank you, Nikki. That was a brilliantly accumulated article. She did wonderful. It's from 2019, but again, ghost stories are always ghost stories.
Yeah.
If they're 200, 300 years old, 500 more, don't matter. They're still just as ghost story today as they were in their inception.
Yeah.
Yeah, great solution. That's the only solution I had. I was like, well, whatever's going on with this call is well beyond the ability of what I can do on a show. Not that I'm patting myself on the back, but I've done cleansings before, but that was not one I was prepared to do. I was like, yeah.
Good question from Maggie, though. Maggie asks, how do you think ghosts and spirits use phone lines?
Well, I think ghosts and spirits are energetic. So, I mean, they don't seem to have any trouble using energetic devices like lights. Lights are real common. Radios, TVs, turning on and off. Appliances are turning on and off. So if it's energetic, they just don't seem to have almost any barrier to it. They just seem to be able to utilize those things. So, and if you think of the sound on a phone, it's energetic. It's pulses of electricity creating sounds. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if a spirit's, maybe just by virtue of them being energetic is my take on that, really.
Yeah.
I think that they just can influence electronics very easily because they're not in meat suits and encumbered by all this stuff. They can just exist energetically.
Yeah.
And it gets static on the line too. Yeah. Yeah. How do you think ghost spirits use the phone lines? Please. It gets static on the line too. Thanks, Sheldon and Brent. Yeah.
No problem.
We're happy to help, Maggie.
I think the scariest calls you can get are the ones talking about your car's extended warranty.
Oh, those creep me out.
They always find me.
Yeah, exactly. Those damn warranty people. They knew you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that I think to date, I did have a pocket dial that I've since come to put together that was from my father. It was from my mom's phone. And it was a weird. I'll retell it because it's been a long time since I told it, and it's still, to this day, is one of the most profound things that just proves to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that my dad was sticking around quite a bit. I think he's still around. I'm not saying that he's not, but so what was going on was Mom and I had been talking many times about the TV and stuff turning on. My dad's old TV, because Mom and Dad watched TV on two different TVs. Dad, Texas Ranger, Westerns, and Mom, everything else, true crime, whatever. And so they had their own TVs. My dad's is out on a 4-season porch and never had any weird issues with it. But after Dad passed, suddenly that TV started turning on. And I don't know, it's like he's trying to catch Walker again or whatever. But Mom and I would talk about that. She'd talk about the lights doing weird stuff. And again, there's no existing activity in my parents' house at all. I mean, it's just been a real quiet house. Growing up there was never anything going on. So my dad's passing definitely, he definitely let us know that he's around. And so I was sitting here at my in the studio and my phone rang and I looked down and it was Mom. And I was like, oh, Mom's calling. So I answer the phone. I'm like, hello? Nobody's answering me. But in the background, I hear like that, like a real subtle, like coughing and stuff and some voice, but I can't make it out. But I thought, oh, Mom's pocket dialed me. She must have bumped her phone or something. And my brother must be over visiting her. I've got a brother that lives right across the street. So, he's often over there. So I'm like, hey, Mom, trying to get her to hear something whistling, trying to see if I can make enough noise that she'll, oh, my phone must have dialed you. Sorry. But didn't. And so I'm like, well, what I'll do is I'll hang up and I'll call back. Then it'll ring and then she'll answer it and I'll just let her know. So I hung up. Then I called back. It rang and rang and rang and rang, went to voicemail. Like, oh, well, maybe she got the ringer on quiet or whatever. No big deal. So I was like, well, whatever. And so I just got back to what I was doing here in the studio. And then my phone rings about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. And it's Mom again. So I'm like, oh. And I answer the phone. She goes, hi, what'd you need? I'm like, what? She goes, what did you need? I saw you called. I said, oh, I was just calling you to let you know that you pocket dialed me. And I could hear, that there was something going on, but apparently you must have pocket dialed me. And I was just calling you back to say, hey, you pocket dialed me. But no big deal. She goes, what? I said, yeah. And by the way, is Jeff over there? Because I could hear a male like clearing his throat and like coughing a little bit. And she goes, no, that's not possible. And I'm like, well, what's going on? She goes, no, I was down in the shower. I'm here alone. The house is locked. She was down in the shower, which is in the downstairs, the first floor of the house. And her phone was up on the kitchen table on the second floor in a locked house all by herself. And I'm like, well, I said, what? And she goes, yeah, I've been down there for about the last 25 minutes. I'm like, oh, well, this is what happened. And so we kind of chalked it up. Well, it must be Dad. And then that was a Friday. And I went and, did my show that night. And I talked about it that night on the show, on a Friday night show. And I was like, oh, Dad's still there. He's making himself known. And it's really amazing and shows that, life continues, whatever. And made it a part of my show. Went to bed Friday night. Woke up Saturday morning to my phone ringing. And his mom again. Like, hi, Mom. She goes, hi, you're not going to believe this. Like, what? Well, apparently Dad's TV came on Saturday morning at their house. Not only did it come on, it's a smart TV, but it had never been configured for the internet, ever. My dad didn't know how to operate a remote, and Mom and Dad, didn't really use the internet. They have it. Mom always did it on like a tablet or her phone, but never on the TV. So his TV came on, and it was online. Not only was it online, but it was on YouTube. Not only was it on YouTube, but it was on the Paranormal Portal channel. Not only was it on the Paranormal Portal channel, it was playing my episode of me talking about my dad turning on his TV. All of those things lined up. I don't care who you are. That's like, and my great example is like, that's like pulling folded clothes from your dryer. I mean, that's the kind of odds you're dealing with. For all of those things to line up like that, I don't care who you are. You can't talk me out of that being an absolute, full and complete proof that my dad was letting us know he was there. So thank you. I see the comments. Yeah. It's a true story. You know, I put it on Everything Good and Holy that is exactly what happened. And to this day, it still gives me chills because it's just so powerful. So that was true.
Yeah. Well, the layers. Yeah, there's so many layers to that. It's not just like, oh, it turned on.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it turned on and connects to the internet and went to YouTube and went to, like, it's
YouTube, my channel.
All of your videos to that specific one.
Which
like,
there are, there's well over 1,000 videos on there. Somehow it magically played that one and was playing the exact part where I was talking about him turning on his TV and doing stuff around the house. So just like, that's true story. Really happened. So, for any doubters out there, I don't know what more proof you need. Now, that was my experience. I can't say that you need to believe my experience, but I can assure you on the entire depth of my person and everything that I love that is exactly the truth, and that's exactly what happened. So, very cool. But there you have it. Pretty wild, right, Sheldon?
Here we have it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's no such thing as coincidences in my reality. And that's exactly it. And not only is it a coincidence, it's just a stack of them. I mean, that's just a pile of coincidences. Coincidences of coincidences of coincidences of coincidences. It's like, oh my God. And that's where it's just like, wow, way to go,
It's
Dad.
an onion of coincidences.
It's an onion of coincidences. Yeah, exactly.
Because what onions have? Onions have layers.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Just like my love. Okay. All right. Some of my layers stink. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Thank you.
I just being stupid. It wasn't editorial, believe it or not. It was just a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit an ad. I gotta get off of that tab. It's in the background there, and I drag my mouse over it. It'll activate it. Those damn ads. Those damn ads. All right. We are gonna head to the cryptid corner, Sheldon.
That's the way. That's the way.
Let me do this. I don't even think you're on screen. No, you're not. Let's get you on screen.
Nope.
I just have.
I'm everybody's conscience.
I didn't tell you yet, Sheldon, but I'm working on multi-streaming the show to not only YouTube, but to Twitch. I started testing it this evening.
Oh, fantastic.
This afternoon, actually. But yeah, it's not, some of it, I mean, parts of it are working perfectly, but there's some things that I have to iron out or at least test better. Maybe,
sure.
Maybe you can help me test it tomorrow.
I can help. That's fine.
Okay. Cause it will require someone to be in Twitch and actively watching the stream and typing. But I found a way to merge the chats from YouTube and Twitch and feed it back to OBS in one frame. And so,
that's beautiful.
I know the YouTube one, or I know the Twitch one works because I did that, but I couldn't verify that YouTube would have typed on there either. So it would take both of those.
Okay.
But I don't know how to test the Twitch and the YouTube myself, so it would be good. But I'm excited about that because I think it's an opportunity to make the show accessible as much as we can. Yeah.
Grow the portal.
What's that?
Grow the portal.
Grow it. We're going to grow the portal. Let me go to this one too. This is that article that we just read, but I want to get you up on the screen here. There you are. Okay. Boom. Now you're on there. All right. You're on all the screens. You're everywhere. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's go. No. I'm not going to announce it. We're going to go to the cryptid corner, ladies and gentlemen, and see just what we can corral from here. Special thanks again to the West for the shout out to that link for his upcoming show. If you missed that, it's going to be epic. It's going to be absolutely epic. And that is the upcoming show on Sasquatch Chronicles is The Kentucky Devil. And it was a clip from there that Wes formatted, and I played it on tonight's show. And just the intensity of that guy's voice and how he's trying to choke back his own tears, relaying that story. It's just like, wow, very, very powerful. It's one of those interviews you don't get I mean, every interview I love, but the ones where there's so much emotion in it, it's like, wow. And Wes has a bunch of those. All right, here we go. This is first, speaking of Sasquatch Chronicles, we're going to go to his blog again for another November 17th article. And this is not the same one. No, this is North Carolina. Okay. So this is from Sasquatch Chronicles blog, ladies and gentlemen, November 16th. Strange events while hunting. Again, hunters. Hunters do tend to have quite a few experiences. Not all of them, but... And you know what? Here's the thing. In my opinion, I think that the Sasquatch it's like ringing the dinner bell when hunting is going on, because I think they don't worry about us so much. They just wait for us to shoot something and then they take it. I do. I think they do. It's like Meals on Wheels, baby. It's like boom. They didn't have to chase it or anything. They'll just. Hey, the blood trail stopped. There's nothing here, Or additionally, I think that there's many stories of them raiding gut piles, like after a hunter gets a deer or an elk or something, and they field dress it, so they pull out all the waste organs and stuff, and they make the gut piles out there. Well, I think that Sasquatch are very likely one of the creatures in the woods that take advantage of that, because that's a lot of free calories, baby. They didn't have to earn it.
It's free real estate.
Yeah, and they're known to go after the soft tissue and organs first, and then the rest of the body, the rest of the kill. But they want to get those soft tissues like the liver, the heart, different organs, because they're very fatty, they're very calorie rich, and I imagine it's like an energy drink for them.
In a way, yeah.
Liver gives me wings. All right, so let's read this story. It's again, strange events while hunting. And a listener writes, the first encounter I had was in late October in the Nuis Forest in 2007. I was attending a wooden boat building class in Beaufort, North Carolina for a Halloween weekend. God, I hope I didn't read this on Wednesday. I might have, but we're reading it again. Because it's like the first. And I remember we read, the second. This might have been one I already read, but we're reading it again. I was living in Marietta, Georgia at the time, and I found a campground online to book reservations. Flanders Beach Campground near the Nuis River recreational area. When I arrived at the campground, I was the only camper there, and it was in a remote forest area, thick with trees and brush. It was around 9:30 p.m. I made a campfire and was eating my dinner, and then I heard a loud swoosh, as if something big was walking in the water. I then heard ducks or geese frantically trying to get out of the area. It sounded like something got one of the geese and ducks by the sound it made. And then I heard this two-legged animal start to walk up towards me that came out of the water. I was on the other side of this hill, and it was walking up towards me from the other side. My heart started to pound because the two-legged animal had long stride between steps. The stride of the animal was twice of that of a man. It was a very heavy animal by the sound of the steps crashing and crushing the leaves and brush. My brain was trying to process what was happening. How can this be a man coming out of cold water at 10 p.m. in the forest? There's no houses nearby. What's going on? As an avid hunter and familiar with the woods, my brain was going through a Rolodex of animals, trying to process what was happening. I jumped up in my chair, grabbed my 20-plus-year-old Green Army flashlight and knife, and yelled, "Who's there?" I could not see over the hill, and my flashlight was not any good. The animal stepped outside the firelight perimeter for about 10 seconds, like it was trying to make a decision, and then turned to its right and slowly walked away. I never saw anything because of the hill between it and me. I will never forget the sound of the two-legged animal walking and the stride between its steps. It had the stride of at least twice or three times of a man. It walked like it was in total control, and it was the apex predator. Most humans in the woods at night will have a flashlight, they stumble and trip, but this thing walked easily and steady long stride. After that, I was exhausted and scared. I decided not to put up the tent, and I decided to sleep in my Jeep front seat. All night I was paranoid that I would see a face through the side plexiglass Jeep window. Thinking about it now maybe it was good I did not see what it was. Whatever it was, it had some sort of intellect because of that long 10-second pause it made to it turn right rather than come at me. The second encounter I had was when I took my 13-year-old son on his first hunting trip to the Brasstown Bald Mountain area up in Blairsville, Georgia in 2013. It's off of Highway 180 and Forest Road 296 in Soapstone Gap. I was an avid hunter in those parts for over 13 years. I made several big mistakes on that trip, and we've both learned from them. At 8 a.m, 2 days before Thanksgiving, we drove up a forest road for about 4 miles. The road ended, and before we could set out on a fire break trail, I took my compass and took our bearing. I told my son if we get lost, we need to head southwest, and that would put us on a road. The first mistake was not bringing any water with us. We left it in the truck. We walked for several miles into the national forest on a mountain ridge. When we got to the point on the mountaintop, we sat down on a draw looking for deer to come up. I made several deer calls about 30 minutes later, and we heard a deer coming up the draw towards us. At that time, I had a flip phone. Just as we raised our rifles waiting for a good shot at the deer, my phone went off. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And of course, it was my mom, always calling at the wrong time. So the deer got spooked off, but it decided to go around the other side of the mountaintop. I made another deer call, and it started to walk up towards me. It was less than 10 feet away when we both looked at each other. My son was behind me, so he could not take the shot. I raised my rifle, and as I squeezed the trigger, the deer jumped and turned as I shot. It was a bad shot, but I hit it. It was now 10 a.m. We made a second mistake in tracking the deer without any water or food due to us being excited that we shot a deer. We tracked a blood trail for 3 hours going down the mountain into a valley. The valley was getting thick with brush, and there were 3 mountains around us. One to the left, one to the right, and the one we came down. As we got to the very dense thicket of brush-like trees at the bottom of the valley, everything got real quiet, and we both had the hair on the back of our necks stand up from the feeling of being watched. We came to the spot where the deer had bedded down, and there was a pool of blood where it lay. Just after walking around the blood pool, checking for another blood trail, we heard a loud crash of a dead tree being pushed over about 20 meters from us. Then a two-legged animal or person was moving around in the thicket, which sounded like a truck crashing through the brush. But it was so dense we could not see what it was. My brain was trying to process why would someone be in this remote part of the forest. My heart was pounding, and my son and I raised our guns because the noise was getting louder. I don't remember if I yelled, "Who's there?" thinking it was a person in the thicket. Whatever it was on 2 legs and moved away from us, deeper into the national forest. My son and I were trying to process what it was that we encountered. At first, I thought maybe the deer had crashed into the tree and snapped it, but my son and I knew it was something two-legged. We resumed looking for the deer's blood trail, and we did numerous circles looking for a blood trail from the spot where the pool of blood was. We could not find any more blood trails. It was as if something picked it up and ran off with it. The third mistake, we went deeper into the valley, continuing to look for prints, but nothing. At one spot in the valley, my son whispered, "Something's watching us, Dad." He was wide-eyed and spooked. I noticed the shadows in the mountains were getting longer. I looked at the time and it was 3:30 p.m. As a father, I started to panic. We were now lost. My flip phone and GPS were crap and lost signal. I was dying of thirst and it was getting dark. I told my son we needed to head out. We could backtrack the way out which would take several hours and put us in the dark. Or we could head southwest up the mountain and take a shortcut. We decided to take the shortcut and go up the mountain. It was harder than I thought going up the mountain. We both had severe dry mouths, but we made it near the top of the ridge. I then noticed we were lost. We should have continued following the compass southwest, as I knew, but when I got near the top of the mountain, I decided to go right rather than left on a southwest bearing. At this point, I was like, crap, we're lost, and it's getting dark fast. Luckily, I have a brother-in-law who works in the intel community. I had enough signal to lock my GPS latitude and longitude, and was able to call my brother-in-law, and he picked up, and I told him where we were last hunting, and gave him my position. He told me to hold, and several minutes later, he said go southwest 150 yards, and I should come out at my truck. Sure enough, we went 150 yards and came out on my truck. Thank God. We were so thirsty and hungry at that point. My son and I sat on the tailgate and we looked at each other. What a hell of a first hunting trip. Lost in the forest and an encounter with something that took our deer. And how in the hell did my brother-in-law know where my truck was exactly? My sons are in the Army National Guard, and I was in... Huh?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. And I was in the Army, too. We are avid outdoorsmen. We dove hunt, dove hunt, bow hunt, deer hunt, and fish, both inshore and offshore regularly. Years later, my sons went out camping at that spot and went hunting without me, and they said they had another weird encounter and heard knocks. We still hunt in that area to this day. I always tell them 3 things. 1, trigger control. 2, thank the Lord for the mountains and his creation for us. 3, if you run into Bigfoot, don't John Wayne it and shoot at it. Maintain trigger control unless their life is threatened. Good advice. Good advice.
Very good advice.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Maggie asks, how did he know where the truck was?
Well, I'm sure he probably had a satellite view. If he's in the intel community, even back then, they had satellites forever. We just finally have access to them now, but if he was in the intel community and had government access, I'm sure he could look at that spot and look around for stuff and probably realized, hey, that's his truck sitting right there.
Fair enough.
Or he's got it chipped and didn't tell him.
Yeah, maybe.
He might have chipped his brother's truck. I'll always be able to find you. Always. Yeah, you never know. That's cool.
Yeah.
Good
Wow.
story, though. Good story.
Very good story. My God.
I likey. Yep. Did you like that one, Sheldon?
I loved it.
You loved it. Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, well, that was a fantastic other offering from Sasquatch Chronicles. All right, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stories from Phantoms and Monsters, ladies and gentlemen.
Good old Phantoms.
I don't know if we're going to get all of them, but we'll get a few of them. Lon Strickler's been doing this for a long time, folks, and definitely support his site, phantomsandmonsters.com, much like Wes's site. With Wes's site, I mean, everybody already knows his podcast, but what a lot of people don't know, and maybe it's growing, but there's a lot of information on his blog, just tons. Great links to other shows, sometimes the Paranormal Portal, just saying.
Yeah.
But a lot of other good shows as well, and great information. And then there's the listener emails that he gets sent those a ton of times, and I just don't think it'd be possible to make episodes of everything. But they're at the very least they are informative experiences people have had, and if you're interested in the phenomena, I think talking to experiencers is the best route of information. Because these are the people that actually saw something. And you can learn things by listening. All right, the first story that we're going to go, and again, Phantoms and Monsters is a great site for Lon's own podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. His published works, the research that they do into many different Fortean topics, and all of the encounter stories that he has. Just tons of encounter stories over there, too. So 2 excellent repositories for information. And definitely find Lon's YouTube channel, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube here, and get subscribed. I watched Phantoms and Monsters before tonight's show. Great to see Fridays before Paranormal Portal. Yeah, very good, Lucky Gypsy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lon's a great guy. He's been at it a long time, and he really does know his stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that claim they know stuff, and some of them do, but Lon is definitely one of those guys that he's been at it so long. I mean, he's talked to people all over the world, and he's been a part of many research efforts and television shows, and just great stuff. So this one go ahead.
What are some ways, like not even just Bigfoot stories, but just kind of any kind of story? What are signs that give you that, like, this person's reaching, or this person's maybe not being as accurate here when they're telling a story to you? You know, for me, just in general, the big thing is that, you know, I haven't witnessed or talked to nearly as many people as Wes or Lon, and, you know, through the years, but I've talked to hundreds of people, and doing this show, talked to, you know, hundreds of callers, and interviewed plenty of people. And no matter what the phenomena is, if it's ghosts, if it's UFOs, less so for UFOs, it's hard to really say, but for ghosts and most cryptids, if you've listened to enough stories, there's definitely consistencies that go along with most of the stories. The wood knocks, the whoops, vocalizations, the intimidation things that they do, they're very consistent. And so when I'm talking to people, and it's not that every story has to match, but there should be consistencies. Either the person that's going way off the topic with some weird stuff, either one person is lying, or everybody else has been lying. And I think it's that's my take on it. It's like, well, what am I going to believe? The hundreds of people who've talked to me about Bigfoot, or this one person that's talking about Bigfoot, but in a way I've never heard anybody talk about Bigfoot. You know, so a lot of times it's just, in ghost stories, very much have a consistent recipe for how they develop, and what generally people experience. Now, sometimes it's a gut feeling. Sometimes it's just like, I don't believe you. I mean, it's human nature, and I'm not always going to be right, but you look for the consistencies. You look for, the boxes to be checked along the journey. And when they're not, it's like a red flag. And it's not like people couldn't have unique experiences nobody else had, but it's just rare. After all this time, you just hear things and they make sense or they don't. So again, sometimes it's intuitive, but sometimes it's just, man, nobody's ever told me these things before. And it's not just one new thing. It'll be like a whole bunch of new things that nobody has ever mentioned before. So those are the big ones for me. It's like, if it's so far off of the, I don't want to say recipe, because everybody has unique experiences, but a lot of the activity usually follows a set of flow. The activity usually flows along similar lines. And when somebody has an experience that's so far removed from any of that, it's like, oof, I'm not sure I'm with you on this one. I'm not sure I'm there. No, I don't ever say I don't believe you, because I can be wrong. I'm fallible, and I'll listen. But I will tell you that there are some interviews that have never been aired that I've done, just because I do feel an obligation to the listeners that if I don't believe a person is being sincere, then I'm certainly not gonna air that for our listeners. And again, it may be a judgment, and maybe it's not fair, but I'm the gatekeeper for the Paranormal Portal. I'm the one that decides if something's going to be out there or not. And I do have a deep love for this stuff, and I don't want it being misrepresented. It's a verbal hoax, and I have no time for hoaxers. If people are fabricating stuff, they're not helping any of us. We're trying to look for answers. And if they're going to come on and just use their 45 minutes or whatever to just BS us, it's like, no, I don't have time. I don't have time for it. So that's my take on it. So my apologies if that sounds offensive to anybody, but it's just that I want the answers. I'm in this because I'm really looking for some answers or understanding. And I don't know anybody that wants to watch a clearly hoaxed video on YouTube. People have no trouble saying, "Oh, that's obviously BS." Well, I'm the same way about a verbal. A verbal can be a hoax too. It doesn't have to be produced and have, figures walking and moving on camera. It can be just somebody just stitching together a weird yarn just to have their moment.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
I agree. I concur. I think that's the responsible thing to do.
Well, I hope so. I do. Yeah. Chucky says, I don't have time for hoaxers. Yeah, exactly. And none of us do.
No.
And if it's not pushing the envelope forward, then it's just pulling us back, and granted, there's some things I have trouble conceptualizing, but I still air them. So when we talk about a supernatural Bigfoot, it's hard for me to understand that. It really is. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. But I don't censor that because of my own paradigm. I still have heard enough of it that there's got to be something to it, but it's hard for me to get my head around. So I don't just use my own paradigm like I don't believe it, so nobody else gets to hear it. But it's just if it's just too far gone, then I'm not going to waste time. So let's get to the story from Phantoms and Monsters Radio or phantomsandmonsters.com, not radio, because this isn't his podcast. High school counselor comments on cat-eyed boy registered by mysterious men in suits. Oof, that's quite a title.
Oh.
High school counselor comments on cat-eyed boy registered by mysterious men in suits. Okay, so here's my take on this. If you got a kid that's obviously not quite human, but looks mostly human, get him some contacts. I mean, they've been around forever. Kid, you want to go to school? You want to be like the other kids? You're going to wear these contacts.
Kidding me? Missed the chance of being Naruto, kid? No way.
Yeah, well, there's that. I mean, you'd have to make sure you're in a Naruto school then. Let's read what it says, though. It's kind of interesting. Cat-eyed boy. Maybe he couldn't wear contacts or something, but there must be some way to cover that up. Just give him sunglasses, say he has a light allergy. The following account was from a comment made on Reddit. I followed up with the witness who later contacted me with further information. All confidential information is redacted. I was a counselor at a high school in Las Vegas, Nevada, several years ago. One day, a principal brought two men in three-piece suits and a student to my office and asked me to register him. I'll leave out some details, but as I looked at the student, I saw that the pupils of his eyes were like cat eyes. Other than that, he was normal looking. The two men looked around my office and appeared to not notice my reaction. I asked the boy his name, and he gave me his first name. I began filling out the forms, and one of the men said they would have to come back because they were late. They left, and I heard no more about it. I told the principal that the registration had not been completed, and he merely nodded, and there was no more to discuss. I've often thought about it. So that was the extent of the comments. I later asked the witness if they would elaborate on the incident. And he said, the strange thing is that it was never spoken of. And I didn't mention it to anyone at school, but I did tell my family. And I have been following information at the time about supposed aliens at Area 51. And just assumed that they were testing responses to the boy's eyes. He wouldn't have lasted a minute in regular class, and I'm not sure why I didn't say something to the men about that. As I said, they just stood and looked around the office, not appearing to notice my response. Looking at them, the boy gave me a little shock, but I assumed they were from the base testing reactions. I thought later that this time he could probably wear contact lenses that would disguise his eyes. There you go. As I said, I was reading and following information at the time about aliens and probably took it more in stride than someone might have. I've read about others who've had experiences and were surprised that they just never mentioned or discussed it again. As a counselor, I also try not to hurt him by commenting on his eyes. Yeah, very cool. That's the whole story. So, yeah, I mean...
What do you make of that?
It does sound like that it was a test of some kind, but maybe it wasn't a boy at all. I don't know. That's crazy. We often hear stories of hybrid children. Like they're something not quite human, but they're not quite fully alien. There's something in between. And you got to wonder, I mean, if there is hybrid children like that, and these aliens are here, these extraterrestrials are here to learn more about us and our culture. Probably putting their kids in our schools would be one way to do it, but they probably want to sort out those eyes first. I think there's, I mean, there would have been any number of ways to disguise the boy's eyes before that meeting, but it's like they wanted it seen. I also am not sure that those men were necessarily human either, though. They just maybe were able to pull it off better. Who knows?
Yeah, hard to say. That's interesting.
I don't know.
Have you ever heard of any other?
I was going to say I don't.
Have you ever heard of any?
I don't know of any alien races that have cat eyes, though. That's a different one for me. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not the most avid, and I'm following up on supposed extraterrestrials that live here.
Well, yeah, Chucky Danger said it sounds reptilian. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, maybe it would be more reptilian rather than cat. That's a good point. But in any case, I imagine it'd be kind of stunning, really. Yeah, like, whoa, I love your eyes, dude. I don't know.
I'd be jealous. You kidding me?
Can you see in the dark? Do you find yourself running after mice? I'm just curious. No, I wouldn't do that. But it is. I think, uniqueness is a good thing, right? So, but you got to wonder what is the background.
I like the reference, Chucky. Thank you.
What was it? Little boy.
That little boy back there is not real.
Oh,
it's from a video that's been circulated. Yeah. Oh, you might have seen it then. Yeah.
The woman on the plane. Yeah. Or not wanting to be on the plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
The strange story where she just kind of disappeared. They had some other woman that looked kind of like her. Apparently is supposed to be her, but it doesn't look like her.
Oh.
Some model that was apologizing for this, but I don't think it was one and the same person. Interesting indeed. But so is this next article from Phantoms and Monsters, Sheldon.
Ooh.
What is it, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, young north central Wisconsin man encounters Sasquatch in Cloverfield. Cloverfield. That's a movie, right?
Yes, it is. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't think, not the same. Let's see what it says. A young north central Wisconsin man has an encounter with a Sasquatch while in a Cloverfield. At the time, he had no idea what he'd seen. He had experienced other strange activities as well. How do you not know? Well, let's see what he says. I grew up in north central Wisconsin. After high school, I served 10 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. I retired from the military after 23 years and worked as a hydraulic mechanic in a plant that made body armor for the military. Now to the weird stuff. My little brother owns about 14 acres of woods with his house a few miles west of Frankfort, Kentucky. 2 years ago, I started to deer hunt out there. The woods were 3 hills with 2 drains breaking them up, and there was a L-shape draining into a creek bottom. In the first year, the 2018 season, I positioned myself in the middle of the hill and had a good view down to the clearing about 50 yards away with a bunch of failed trees and limbs. I spent most of the 3 weeks looking down into the clearing. Nothing unusual happened this year, but it's important. Back in 2019, about 5 months before deer season opened, I ended up buying a tree stand. We put it together and set it up at the bottom of the hills by the creek with my back to the property line. Depending on the wind, I would either use the tree or sit at the top of my original spot. One day in the tree stand, after I woke up, I noticed it was dead quiet. No birds, no squirrels, nothing, just silence. I didn't see anything. It just felt weird. After about 20 minutes in the woods, went back to normal. A couple days later, the wind changed directions. So I was sitting in the top of the hill in my old spot looking down into that clearing. Now I'm not seeing anything all day, and I decided to check the trail access, the clearing, for fresh deer sign. I slowly made my way back down the hill to the edge of the clearing, and now this is the same clearing I spent all the previous seasons looking down into, and then off and on this current season. When I got down to the bottom, a panic started to overcome me. Somehow, I felt lost. I was turning around, looking all over, trying to figure out where I was and how to get out. I didn't have any idea where I was. I managed to calm myself down and focused on a big oak tree, and suddenly I knew exactly where I was at. That sounds weird now. That sounds like an altered state, right?
Yeah.
That's very strange. I started walking back up the hill to my spot in front of the tree where I had my gear. I was trying to make sense of what just happened. I grabbed my gear, got in the truck, and went to my brother's house, and I told him what had just happened. He actually believed me. I was back out there at 0400 the next morning and didn't have any other occurrences. In 1978 in north central Wisconsin, during my senior year in high school, we had 2 pet rabbit. In the evenings, I would ride my motorcycle out into the country to this clover field and pick some for the rabbits. One evening, I was picking clover and looked over my shoulder and saw this dark figure of what I thought was a bear. It was about 150 yards away, eating the clover. Well, as I watched it, the damn thing stood up, looked over at me, and then turned and walked into the tree line. This sort of freaked me out at the time. I never heard anything about Sasquatch, so I didn't know what it was until many years later. And yes, I would still go back there to pick clover, but I kept my bike running and pointed towards home. Wow. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Always have an exit. That's pretty crazy. Nothing aggressive, nothing, I don't, the altered state, I don't know, is that somehow related or not? I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know.
It's like, oh, this also happened kind of thing, but it is strange. Just imagine suddenly you go out to the driveway and you don't know where you are. Just, you're in a strange place suddenly. Wouldn't that be weird?
Either altered state or maybe if they mean like they literally looked around and it didn't look familiar. Yeah, could be a portal situation like many others we've read.
That's a good point, but it doesn't sound like he moved around. He just kind of looked around and then finally was able to zone in on that one tree, and then it all came back like, boom, oh, I know where I am. So
it could be, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like the infrared noise or
infrasound?
What is it called? Infrasound.
Maybe it's an infrasound thing. Maybe it's Sasquatch related, but maybe it's just a weird energetic place. Very cool, though. All right, and then we have this one. It's a wild account. Bigfoot aids northern Idaho search and rescue in women's safe recovery. So a Bigfoot's helping out. That's a cool story.
I like these ones.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of these, so when they come up, that's really kind of exciting. Because I find them interesting. I better do this. What am I thinking? Yeah, we're there. Okay. All right, I got to just match everything up again. Okay. Yeah, we got about 12 minutes. Perfect. So let's see how the Bigfoot aided him, Sheldon.
Yes.
A woman is lost in northern Idaho wilderness. It's up in my neck of the woods. A search and rescue team leader describes the strange circumstances that occurred during the search and how it involved a Bigfoot. I live in Eastern Washington, and I'm a 27-year firefighter, paramedic veteran. I volunteer with several search and rescue teams from Washington to Idaho. In the late spring of 2014, I was on vacation at my son and daughter-in-law's home in northern Idaho when over the local news they announced a need for trained rescue members to help search for a family of 5 lost for 2 days. Well, I travel with my seasonal rescue equipment, so I'm prepared at all times. Wow, that's good planning. I drove an hour and 45 minutes with my son to a northern Idaho town of Bonner's Ferry. That's about 30 minutes north of me. Ooh. Where the command center was, and we divided into teams of 7. Everyone from all over north came out to help. I took the lead of my team and searched the high country at the border of Montana and Idaho. When we arrived, we met a Montana conservation officer. He told us that the father and 2 children had made it out, but he had to leave his wife because her hip seemed to be broken and she couldn't walk. He had left a .357 pistol with her for protection and signal rescuers. She also had a whistle. As we headed up the mountain, after 1 hour, we ran into 3 search volunteers that were gassed from the off-trail search. As they followed the sound of a whistle, they said they followed the whistle sound into a big timber but couldn't catch up to it. Confused by this report, we marked their GPS area on our map and proceeded to that area. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Weather was sunny and dry, and we heard a faint whistle sound come from a ridge roughly a half mile ahead. We thought, awesome, we found her. And this is where things went weird. We hiked maybe 1,000 feet when we heard the whistle again. This time it was closer. We yelled out to her, but with no reply. We walked another 500 feet when this time the whistle was now blowing constantly, always ahead of us. Our trail was coming to an end, and it turned into a narrow game trail. I pulled out the map and GPS to check where we were. We were in the correct area, but it did not match the husband's description. We all talked it over, and this time, out of the 7 of us, 4 voted to continue to follow this now loud, blowing, and constant whistle. Through the timber across the creek's upper rock wall to a meadow, we found her. I radioed to command, "We have her," and send the helicopter. She's unconscious. As I set an IV and the other medic stabilized her pelvis, the others cleared out the brush and branches so the prop wash from the airlift wouldn't hurt anyone. One of the members walked over and handed me a bright orange whistle on a lanyard and said that she found hanging on a tree limb 35 yards away. That freaked us out. How the hell did she blow that whistle? She was unconscious. There were no other hikers on the mountain that we saw, and the area where the whistle was hanging was above a cliff just yards away. After she was recovered by life flight helicopter, we headed out to the command center. The sheriff greeted us. He took us aside and asked all of us if we saw anything strange. Apparently, when the helicopter was approaching, they both saw a large creature walking away from where we were. We told them about the traveling whistle and how it kept moving as we followed, and that's how we found the victim. Now, I've heard stories of people being helped by these creatures, or Bigfoot, as you call them. But there are 9 of us, a sheriff, 2 firefighters, myself, and 2 others, who experienced this wonder. Wow. Lon has a note here. That's a wild account, but I've heard and read similar experiences reported by search and rescue team members. Very cool. Megaphone Man Naysay coming in. Thank you, brother. High miraculous perfections of a unique individualism. Hope you are finding giggles abundantly and no ectoplasm in your hair gel. Share the giggles.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that was ectoplasm.
God.
All right. So, very cool story though, right?
Yes.
That's
especially
amazing.
The accounts of them seeing the large creature walking away type of thing.
Right, from the life flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very crazy. And then they
And
found the
I
whistle.
was thinking I'm sorry, yes, the whistle. But I was thinking as you're reading, like, well, why wouldn't it just yelp? It's like, oh, but if they heard a large screaming or a pounding, they might just run away. So like, oh my God, we don't want to go near that. So like the whistle's like the best option. So it shows like another example of a good amount of intelligence.
Yeah, they knew that it made noise, and maybe they watched her blow it until she lost consciousness. And then they just figured, well, we have to help. We got to bring them here.
Yeah.
So grabbed the whistle after she went unconscious, took it away. I wonder if she was aware of anything. That's the one thing we don't know is what did she experience?
It's always the follow-ups. I always want to know more, but it just ends. No follow-up, nothing. I wish there was.
I know. I wish there was too, because this would be an incredible experience this person could have had, or no experience. Maybe she just went unconscious, and next thing she knew, she was in a hospital. You know, it's hard to know exactly what it was that she experienced. But my God, it doesn't sound like she was in the same place the husband described either, with the broken hip. So was she moved?
Well, that would be my guess. Yeah, she probably was unconscious, dragged him over. Yeah.
Put her someplace where they could definitely get help in for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it said it was put in the plains, right? So it's like a wide open area. That's a smart place to kind of leave someone if they're looking to be found.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. There'd be no other way to get a helicopter into a lot of places up here. So
very smart.
You got to find a clearing. So that's intelligence again. Probably moved her to a place where she could get picked up, and then took that whistle that they watched her blow and went out, and, I'm sure the Bigfoot know exactly where people were looking and just kept trying to blow it to get them in. Probably frustrated, like, come on, you freaking noodles.
Get over here.
God, how long do I got to blow this stupid thing?
God, true.
Yeah, exactly. So it must have been frustrating for the Bigfoot. God, this is my whole day. Whatever. Come pick up your garbage. Let's go. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm just sounding stupid, but it's interesting. That's a very cool take.
Yeah.
Again, we don't see many of those stories, but they are out there. There are stories like this out there. Can they all be wrong? Well, this one sounds pretty sincere.
Well, it's like you say. I mean, like, even if 99% of the stories are just hoaxes or writing projects, even if 1% are true, that's a lot of stories worth reading and worth considering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, I'm going to put a link to this, I think, in the Discord, because this is a great story.
That is a good one.
That is a good one, and I'm going to put it in the Discord. Sheldon, we were supposed to give away a T-shirt tonight.
Oh, we should do that.
Let's do that. Let's go long. If you're a member, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We only got 4 minutes left of the network, but can you get all the... If you're a member, type something in chat, please, because Sheldon has no way to know who's a member and who's not. So if you're here, we got a T-shirt to give away, and by God, we're going to do it. I is here. Karen Alberding is here. I'm
going to write everything down.
Yep.
All right.
Barbara.
Entries.
Wizard Moon won one already, so not Wizard Moon, please.
Not Wizard.
Grumpy Owl.
Yeah, that sounds like me. No, just kidding.
Oh, you a grumpy owl.
No.
Nick Wagerson.
Hold up. Oh, there's the list. Okay. Got the list. Got the generator. Okay. Chucky.
Chucky is... Chucky, do you want to be in the drawing or not?
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's up to you. Okay. So, you're getting them? Okay. I'll just let you got it? Okay.
I get it.
We're going to do this giveaway, by God, no matter what. I'm glad I thought of Discord, because I would have forgotten about this.
Oh, my God. Misfired chat.
And I needed you to do it, or Don to do it. And Don was gone on Wednesday, and I couldn't have done it myself.
Oh, Nina's in here too. Yes.
Yep. Mom is here. Yep, Portal Mom. I guess. Take Portal Mom out. I'll just get her a T-shirt.
Okay. All right, Nina. Sorry you don't get to win one.
Christmas present, Mom. Love, love, love.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. Wizard. Wait, no, yeah, that's right. So far, looks to be it.
Okay, is there any other members that are? If you want to join to be a member right now, you can. I mean, that sounds
Elaine
like
win before? I can't remember.
What's that?
Did Elaine win before?
Elaine? I don't think so. Elaine, did you ever win a shirt?
I can't remember. Or do you want to win a shirt? Either way.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly should be in the drawing. Peel me a grape. No, Elaine.
Rachel. Oh no, Rachel, you're not a member.
Yeah, they got to be members. I'm gonna probably get our mods a shirt anyway, as a thing.
Okay.
So
you're right. That's a good idea.
And Elaine says I won once. So.
Okay. Do you want to win again, or are you not doing that, or what? What? Are we doing?
Yeah, just leave the mods out. I'm probably just gonna get the mods Christmas shirt.
Okay.
Sorry to get the cat's out of the bag. You
sorry,
know what
Chucky.
You know what you're getting for Christmas.
No. Okay. And I'm just double checking my list. Gabrielle, Karen Alberding, Luke Griffin, Misfire Jack, more of this, more of that. Sorry, Nina. Rick, Ron the Sage. There we go. Ron the Sage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's
okay. So you are the members that are here and eligible. If there's any other members, now's your chance.
Now's the time.
Just say something in the chat so we got your green name to pick from.
Yep.
Wagerzin. Yeah, I've been pronouncing it right. Good.
Wagerzin. Okay, good.
What
good,
did you
good,
say,
good.
Sheldon?
I think I said Wagerzin instead of Wagerzin.
Oh, Wagerzin. Yep.
Wagerzin.
Okay.
Yes, my bad. I apologize.
You got Barbara, more of this, more of that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess that's everybody. Let's see who's going to win.
Okay. All right. Time to spin. Here we go.
Here we go.
Karen Alberding.
Karen Alberding. Woo! Congratulations, Karen. Thank you, everybody. We'll do this every month for members, so don't lose heart. Everybody's going to win one eventually, unless you don't want to be members again.
That's true.
I'm going to probably come up with like some kind of trivia game that we can put a shirt as a prize and let you guys compete. For those of you that aren't members, we'll still offer you an opportunity as well. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Karen. Email me or in the Discord, message me. Give me your size and where to send it to, and that would be great. Okay, because then I got the Discord one to send out too, so that'll be both of those, and then we'll gear it up. All right. So, without further ado, Sheldon, it's been a pleasure, sir.
It's been an enormous pleasure to be here, as always, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your words of wisdom and keeping us on track and bringing in new ideas. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. So remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Help each other, take care of each other. Remember to find the magic in every day and to laugh as much as you can. I had to work through that. I got out of my rhythm, so it's such a rhythm now that when I'm out of it, it's like, wait, how's this go?
What's next? What's my line?
What's my line? What's my motivation? All right, guys, love you, and I'll be back tomorrow night. We'll do another 2 hours, so don't miss it. Join me then, and until then, we'll talk to you guys soon. Good night.
Good night.